Hello, H-Town Rundown, Houston Rockets watchers, guys. I'm here with AD. I'm here with Binkley boys. Let's jump right into the intro today, man. We got a lot to talk about. What's good, everybody? This is the at H-Town Rundown, Houston Rockets basketball podcast. I'm here with the main guy, main man himself, AD, and we have a special
What up?
guest, Sir Lackard Binkley, bro. We so happy to have you on the channel, man. AD and I so happy. So how are you guys today? Please tell me how you are.
Well, I'm good, man. I'm doing all right and enjoying this Rockets run. Ready to talk ball and glad to have Binkley on, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm happy to be on. We've been trying to get this together for a while, so it's good to be on. And always good talking Rockets basketball.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's the name of the game, right, baby? So Binkley, I know you're a reporter. You have your own podcast. You got some stuff going on. So maybe you want to tell me a little bit about yourself. Just kind of give us a little introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a senior writer for the Dream Shake. I also write a little bit for SB Nation, credentialed covering the Vipers, which actually where I started, covering the games for them. But I'm credentialed covering the Vipers and the Rockets. So of course I'm out there. Several games a month, talking to the players, talking to the coaches. I'll be at tomorrow's game as well. And of course, I have my own podcast, Rockets Fuel Podcast, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, along with my man Vader. So we got a lot going on over there at that channel as well. And of course, you can always find me on Twitter X, as usual, at Binkley Hoops. So I'm pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, he is, man, and he is knowledgeable as hell, man. I love how he breaks down the game too. It's just good to have a real analyst and a real writer on the pod too. We had Jackson on a few weeks ago, and that was really fun with Jackson. And now we got the man himself, so it's just really good to get in here. Please go check him out, guys. His YouTube channel is also really cool. Rockets Fuel, man. They talk about all the good stuff over there, man. For real. Don't leave us for them. I don't need no one cheap.
Y'all can go to us later. That's fine.
For real. So anyway, we're gonna break down a couple of games here: the Blazers and OKC game, as well as last night's Utah Jazz game, and then we're gonna talk about the most entertaining player in the league so far through March, Jalen Green's resurgence, man, and how he just almost revived himself from in trade talks with Jordan Clarkson and other players like Mikal Bridges and 4 first-round picks. I'm very excited to jump right into it. So let's talk about that Blazers game. Absolutely phenomenal. Very slow start at first, but we were able to come back in the second half and just completely mopped the floor with them. This is a 110-92 W here. Jalen Green in 40 minutes of play was a plus 25. He had 27 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals, and a block. Absolutely phenomenal both ends of the field. I would say this is probably some of the best Jalen Green basketball we've ever seen his entire career. Not only just for stat-wise, but just winning in general. He's just been absolutely phenomenal going on a heater, and his two-way placement, fantastic. However, his efficiency this game wasn't great. He shot 34% from the field, 33% from 3, but he went 83% from the line, so we do like to see that. And then I had to add my boy Block Landale on here for his 32 minutes of play. He was a plus 29. He had 17 points, 9 boards, 2 assists, and a block. I believe this was the game that Jabari Smith Jr. was not playing. He was suspended for the previous altercation with none other than Kendrick Nunn, who I haven't heard of him for a while, but here he is, man. Yeah. Now, again, Jock didn't have a very efficient night himself, 33% from the field and 37.5% from 3. However, he did have 17 points, who were very crucial in this game, and just the block and his presence down low was a big one. It's absolutely phenomenal. So let's go break down the game. AD, I want you to start, man. Talk about the turnovers and fouls, man. I mean, this is just the first half was a mess, but that second half we just took off, man. And
Yeah, look, that first half, man, I felt like they was out the night before partying. They got a little hype, doing a little bit too much. They were very, very sloppy, very, very, lackadaisical defensively. Just all over the place. Just a hot ass mess, man. In the first half. I mean, there's nowhere else to explain it, but I mean, they kept it close. And then halftime, I think it was a single digit lead for the Blazers. And then they just took off after that. And it was, the Jalen Green show after that. But all in all, man, I like the tenacity and I like the fact that they're able to recover, because previously early in the season, games like this would have gotten away from the Rockets. And it would have been either, a disappointment as far as a loss, and probably would have been a close to a blowout and unexpected. So the fact that they're learning on the go and they're turning it around and, overcoming those bad turnovers, overcoming those early fouls, getting in foul trouble, and turning around in the second half to pull out a actual blowout, it turns out to be a blowout win. So that's something like that you got to be inspired and happy about. And I look, at the beginning of the season, Jock Landale, I was like, get him off my team. Him and just get him off my team. I'm so thankful right now for Jock Landale, and he was one of the keys, man, in that first quarter, especially. End up being 17 points, 9 rebounds. So damn good game. He's been having a string of good games, and I got to keep it alive to keep the streak going.
100%. 100%. Go ahead, Binkley. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, absolutely. It's kind of rinse and repeat with some of these games. Like, they struggle a little bit in the first half, and then Jalen Green takes over. I know we'll probably talk a little bit more about the Utah game a little bit later, but it's pretty much been the same formula almost every single game. That, the lesser teams, they struggle a little bit in the first half, and it's almost like, I'm pretty sure I know Ime probably got on him at halftime because that's the type of coach he is. And then all of a sudden, here we go. Jalen Green takes over, or Fair Van Vliet, or Jock Landale. Somebody eventually takes over the game, and it's almost like they just snap out of it. And like you're saying, they definitely would have lost this game. Well, we know they would have lost this game the last few years. But early in the season, even when they were struggling in January, they would have definitely lost this type of game.
Yeah, 100%. Ime had to say something, because we scored 19 points in that second quarter. Not a great look for us. And then we came out that third quarter, scored 33. We scored a total of 63 of our 110 in the second half right there. Ime said something, and it woke everybody up, especially Jalen. Again, not elite efficiency, but in this game, he was our elite scorer, right? And at the end of the day, like, your lead scorer isn't always going to be efficient. I mean, goodness, James Harden, how many times was he shooting 2 or days, 3 for 12, 3 for 14? But we were still winning the game. We were still winning the game, So it just, at the end of the day, you got to pick your poison. In this game, though, I was really, really surprised by Banton. I don't watch Blazers basketball at all. So no disrespect intended, but I have
not many people.
This player was.
Yeah. Not even in Portland.
And bro dropped 30 and 11 on us. Very interesting. However, again, we ended up winning this game. Something that irritated me in this game was Dillon Brooks' attitude. There's just too many times where he thinks he's got it, and he just starts to just want to take over. He shot 2 of 13 in this game. He was solid defensively, especially in that third quarter, really pivotal. But it's just like, again, he kind of lapses back into the Grizzlies mindset, and Ime has straightened him out every time. So obviously, it's not like, the next couple of games we're talking about, Dillon Brooks didn't necessarily go hero mode, but it's just a part of his character trait from what it seems like. Binkley, you've gotten up and close with him.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of what kind of energy do you get from him in games where he plays poorly, like shooting from the field, but his defensive intensity is still there? Is there like a difference in tone?
Yeah, the thing about Dillon is kind of the good with the bad. That's usually what you get with those type of players. He's not to the extreme of a Draymond Green, but that's kind of what Golden State has had to deal with for years. Yeah, I mean, if you think about with Golden State just the other day, I mean, Steph Curry was almost in tears because he was so upset at Draymond Green for getting thrown out the game. And that's what you get from Dillon. You're going to get sometimes the what the heck is he doing type of plays, and then you're going to get the, wow, look at that intensity he's playing with, and, look what he's doing on the court. He's the defensive leader. Even though his defense has slipped a little bit from the beginning of the year, he's still the defensive leader on the team. And you could even tell just in the locker room that, they look up to or follow the lead of players like Dillon Brooks and Fred VanVleet. So I think MA's fine with some of the things he does. Now, some of the times he just flat out called him out like, hey, you can't do this. You can't go out there and get your second technical and get thrown out the game or throw somebody down on the ground, or you can't do things like that. But for the most part, I think MA and the coaching staff, they're perfectly fine dealing with the, occasional bad things from Dillon, because for the most part, you're going to get all out hustle pretty much every single play.
Especially with him being one of our more consistent players throughout the entire season, alongside him and Şengün, of course. They've just, in the beginning of the season too, he was just like phenomenal. I mean, I still think he's an all-defensive team guy this season. Unfortunately, I don't get a vote. I just get to voice my concerns on X and complain when Big Perk says Brooks doesn't do anything. But
Perkins.
Man.
Oh yeah, man. But hey, you know how it is. But again, another fantastic game. Nonetheless, leading our streak into at this point, I think, was 9 wins. Right. Fantastic W. Now let's talk about the next game against OKC, which was a Shea-less OKC team.
One of the games of the year, man.
This felt like a, for lack of a better term, a big boy game. Everyone picked up their britches. No Şengün, no Cam Whitmore, no Tyra Easton like usual, no Shea. They said, man, we got to go out and get this W. We need that 10th W. Last time we had a 10 game win streak was, in 2018 when James Harden was here, 2017, 2018. That's incredible. And our guys went out.
DH. It's before Harden. And look, before Harden and after Harden. So
for real, yeah. 132 to 126 W here. Ended up going to overtime on a crazy 3-pointer. I thought a man was gonna foul on, didn't, but
supposed to.
Yes, yes. That looked like that play that they were drawing up, and hey, rookie mistakes, right? And nonetheless, he was still phenomenal in his minutes. But let's talk about Jalen Green real quick. Phenomenal game. He dropped 7 threes again, second time within a week he's done that. 38.5 minutes played, and he scored 37 points. Had 10 rebounds. Originally, he had 9 rebounds, but they credited him with another rebound. Fantastic. I love extra Jalen stat padding. With 7 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Fantastic block, by the way, that chase down block. He got beat. He recovered. Oh, that was sexy. He ended up shooting 58% from the field. He went 64% from 3. As I said, he went 7-11, and he made all his free throws, which has just been a terror for the team. And we'll talk about against the Utah Jazz, where we didn't shoot very well at all from the free throw line. And then our next big player on this was Amen Thompson. In 20 minutes played, he had another double-double with 25 and 15. Just absolutely phenomenal playing with that power forward position. 4 assists and a block as well to go along with that. And he shot 57% from the field. No matter where he is on the court, he can score, man. He is just a walking bucket. He's got so many different moves, and he's so fast, too, on the court. He's just almost unguardable at this point. He's just a rookie, And he made all his free throws. So let's go break down the game today. Binkley, go ahead and start us off real quick here. Talk about the energy of the game, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of just say it like this. Like, I grew up, I was a diehard, I still am a diehard Rockets fan, like literally screaming at the screen, yelling, doing all kind of crazy stuff to the point where my wife probably thinks I'm crazy. I mean,
yes,
just going crazy. And just to be honest, it's a combination of, now that I'm kind of covering the Rockets, and also the Rockets have just been dreadful for 3 straight years before this year, that it really hasn't been that feeling watching a Rockets game. But, I mean, I would say just watching that game from home, I can actually say, I mean, I was yelling and screaming and hoping that the Rockets win, like probably more than I have been since probably the bubble. I would say the Rockets, Lakers in the bubble after that game 1, we kind of know what happened then. But that's kind of the last time I had that feeling of watching the Rockets play, that it was something really on the line, and it was just late March, getting ready for the draft like we have been the previous 3 seasons. So, I mean, just watching Jalen Green kind of reincarnate James Harden that game, And
Yeah.
OKC having to double team him at the midcourt line, him still figuring out a way. And to me, that's the game that kind of shows that this isn't the same Jalen Green. In the past, teams weren't trying to double team Jalen Green, even when he was going off in March. They really wasn't too concerned about him taking over a game. But now teams are like literally double teaming him as soon as they come across midcourt. And the fact that he still was able to get his points, even though they were game planning to get the ball out of his hands, they had Luke Dort on him, who's, I supposedly still one of the better defenders in the league, but Jalen Green had no trouble getting his points, and he still was able to get other people involved. And to me, the biggest play of the game wasn't even a play where he actually scored. It was the play to Jabari Smith in the corner, where he could have took the shot, and he didn't take the shot. He made the correct play, and that's kind of the growth of Jalen Green that you saw. And to me, that's his best overall game because you kind of consider the circumstances, the fact that the Rockets absolutely needed that game. And yes, I know Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't play, but it almost seemed like the people on the broadcast almost forgot that, well, the Rockets didn't have like three of their main players as well.
They didn't have
they didn't have their best player in Şengün. Well, I think he's still their best player, but they didn't have Şengün. They didn't have Tyrese, and like you said, they didn't have Cam Whitmore. So just to watch Jalen Green kind of grow before our eyes was just, it's definitely the best game the Rockets have had in like the last 3 or 4 years by far.
One thing I want to add right before we get to AD is it seemed like he I want to say like he evolved his game mid-game, but he adapted so fast. You know, like once in that third quarter, I think he got stripped on an early double team he wasn't ready for. I think it was about 2 minutes in, and then almost every time they sent that same double team at him or like an early double team, he made the correct play or he still scored on. I mean, there was that 3 he had on Lou Dort. My goodness, that should have been an N1. Lou Dort was all in his jersey. That was in his landing space, and Jalen splashed that shit. Oh man, I mean, I was at work and I had my phone up, crispy. I was yelling at my. Anyway,
because I can't yell at games. I can't even show emotion at the games. So like that was like the first time. Like I just couldn't help it. It's just
you're a better man than me, bro. Because man, I went to my first Rockets game in Houston over in December when we faced Atlanta when Amen was still kind of sick, and we ended up losing that game. But I was hooting and hollering. You best believe I was freaking out. But hey, it is what it is. AD, go ahead now. I want you to talk about the defensive pressure that we ended up applying.
Yeah, I am going to talk about that, but I do want to say it's March Madness season right now, and this game gave very much so March Madness vibes, like NCAA tournament vibes. This was a heavyweight fight, blow for blow, back and forth. The like you said, defensive pressure was great. The fact that we were able to get Chet out early, helped out a lot as well. Because we were able to go small like we always do and play more effective and force OKC to go small. And that boded to our advantage. But yeah, I mean, just being able, I don't know, I keep getting them because they got 2 Jalen Williams, right?
Yeah.
On the team side,
one with the I, one with the E, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So I guess the one with the dread, the braids, him, he was
the
like,
good one.
Yeah. So he was actually like balling out for them. He was actually taking over, hit the 3 to force it to go to overtime. But he was playing out his mind. But I mean, the fact that they kept everybody in check, everybody else in check was a good thing. Little bit concerned about us letting Josh Giddey kind of go semi crazy in overtime. I was like, I'm getting a little nervous. So, but no, all in all, man, it was a great defensive performance. And keeping that pressure, Ime's principles, his defense. So he kind of keyed in, and we were able to make those stops, especially down. I think we were down almost 10 in the fourth quarter. And we came back just by getting stops consistently. I think multiple stops in a row and been able to score on the other end. So definitely defensively, we've been playing bananas. So this defensive pressure that we're applying is is great. I mean, you have defense. I'm going to say this now. Amen Thompson is going to be a defensive stalwart
Oh,
in this
yeah.
league. He has been ridiculously versatile and been able to guard different positions. And just seeing him, move on the defensive end is a delight. Of course, we already talked about Dylan Brooks, him being an anchor on the defensive side. And I know we're going to talk about it, but Fred VanVleet, man, like in the last few games, he's been really, really pesky and really, really handsy and getting his hands on the ball, man, and getting those steals. So that's something we haven't talked about, but I'm for sure know we're going to talk about the next game.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, this was a heavyweight fight, and the fact that we were able to take those haymakers and come back. Jabari being clutch, that clutch three, to get us, the lead in the fourth quarter. It's just been amazing, man. So I do want to see a little bit better defensive presence from Jabari. That is concerning as well. He's kind of been getting bullied, especially in the paint, especially the last game. But we'll talk about that too. But yeah, man, it was a great defensive effort to push it in overtime and take advantage in overtime. Great defensive game, great game. Like I said earlier, game of the year for me.
Easily. I mean, this, like you said, an NCAA tournament kind of game. It gave me playoff vibes. Like once we went into that second half, I was like, is this what excitement's supposed to be like for a potential play-in team? Is this, this is a new feeling, And to your point earlier, Bingley, is you mentioned how you're able to get Chet Holmgren out, which he played almost 20 minutes and only scored 2 points.
First time he ever fouled out of a game.
He also had 5 turnovers in that game too. And to your credit, the good Jalen Williams, he did end up having 23 with a lot of haymakers, and he did have a double. He had 10 assists in this game, but he was inefficient as hell. He shot 9 of 23. His third three that ended up taking the game to overtime, he went 3 of 10. He had 5 turnovers in this game, 5 fouls. And he was a minus 14. There was a lot to like about this game, a lot that we did really well, and I would like to see the growth, kind of like AD said, continuing this defensive presence that we have, because when Houston makes their presence known on the defensive end, we're not allowing paint points, we're guarding fairly well on the perimeter, not allowing great looks. Our guys just play with such force and ferocity. And I mean, even in a game where we got outscored in the paint, we scored 56, they scored 60. We were still able to kind of keep that lead, right? And their bench scored 60 points to our 21. So that's just another thing where our bench depth, which I'm sure we've all had our concerns about throughout the season, although it's looked better in some games, worse in others. Our bench depth is not exactly a 10-man rotation solid, and with that being said, the bench is going to get scored quite often. Again, our bench scored 21 points to their 60. Very, very interesting that we were able to overcome it because of our starters. And then yet again, an elite game from Jalen Green, who I'm advocating for maybe player of the week again. I don't think he was robbed necessarily because AD averaged 27 and 17. That's pretty crazy numbers. However, I do think Jalen should be in qualification for either another player of the week or player of the month. I mean, we're 13-1, and he's just been absolutely phenomenal.
The way he's been playing the second half of the season, he's almost in that most improved player award territory. So I'm hoping that, if he keeps it up like this, the last, I think we have 8 games left or 9 games left?
9 games.
So if he keeps it up these last 9 games, he definitely deserves that award. And him, bumping up his average, I think he's had 10 straight games with 20, 25 plus points.
Yep.
So I mean, he's turned it around tremendously, and it's just been a delight, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to
go ahead. I was just gonna say real quick, not just his scoring. It's just if you look at, and I know plus minus is not the end all be all. We all know sometimes it's kind of a flawed stat, but he hasn't had a negative plus minus since February 29th. and that was even before they started their winning streak. I mean, his previous high was 3 straight games, and that's it. Positive plus minus, and he did it once this year, and he did it once last year, and that's it. So he's like well surpassed that. So that's kind of what tells me that this isn't the same Jalen Green, because it's not just his scoring that's kind of improved. It's his defense, which has improved all year. People weren't talking about when he was horrible on the offensive end to start the year, but it's also his decision making. And I mean, if you look at it, when was the last time you said, "Man, why did Jalen get beat backdoor?" Like, that doesn't even happen anymore.
You're right.
It's kind of a common occurrence,
Mhm.
and and it was kind of a common occurrence before this season where you'd be like, teams would particularly pick on Jalen on the defensive end, and even OKC tried it. They tried it with Jalen Williams, and I would say out of the 4 possessions they tried it in fourth quarter and overtime, I think Jalen Williams scored 1 time, because they continuously tried to put him in those pick and rolls, and it just didn't work. So I just want to say this to say that Jalen, it's not just his offense, it's just his overall game. I think people need to give him more credit for.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I got the JG jersey right back there, on the wall. I'm a huge JG fan, and it's just it's nice to see the fandom pay off, because man, was it rough.
Yeah.
but we're here now, and that's what matters. Is he's shown growth. He's been phenomenal on all facets of his game. I think in baseball there's a term called a 5-tool player.
Yeah.
He's kind of becoming that. Like he's rebounding at an elite level. He's getting assists, right? And it's not that the assist numbers are getting up, but he's also passing correctly. His pass IQ has just been just phenomenal.
He's been wildly efficient too.
Yes.
Like his numbers. I was listening to Tim Legler on his podcast. He was bringing it up. I think Jalen Green was shooting over 40% from 3. During the string, and then he was shooting over 50% from the field, and I think it was like 80-something% from free throw. Like, he's been highly efficient, and like you said, Binkley, on the defensive end, all around game, it's been just a maturation process we've all, as Rocket fans, been waiting on since we drafted him 2nd overall 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's looking like every bit of that pick.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of every bit of that pick, man, this was a crazy game against the Jazz. 101-100, which, wow. Jalen Green in 38.5 minutes played, man. 34 points, 9 boards, 6 assists, and 2 steals. Just another phenomenal game, almost another double-double in his bag. He started the season with 0, and he now has 8, I believe, after the OKC game. Just crazy from this man. He ended up shooting about 46% from the field, 36% from 3, and he only went 57% from the free throw line. That was a huge issue in the game. I think that comes out to be 8 of 14. And then Amen, he ended up playing 40.5 minutes in this game. Another double-double, phenomenal for our rookie. 18 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block, filling up the stat sheet every time he plays. And he was pretty efficient, from the field in general. Didn't take a 3, but he shot 50% from the field and 75% from the free throw line. For a guy that doesn't have a jumper, I'll take 75% from the free throw line any day of the week. And then Fred VanVleet, man, 42 minutes played. We're going to talk about the defense that AD wants to talk about here. 22 points, 2 boards, 6 assists, 4 steals, 3 blocks. Fred just impresses me every single time. Like Fred's like 2 inches taller than me, right? And obviously supremely better at the sport than I'll ever be. I mean, he's making $40 million. But a 6-foot guard, getting 3, 4, 5 blocks. I think right now he's averaging 1.2, 1.3 blocks a game. That's so crazy for a 6-foot guard to be averaging. But efficiency-wise, he wasn't great. This is the usual Fred efficiency, 37.5% from the field and about 29% from 3. Didn't get a chance to shoot any free throws in this game. Didn't get a chance to make any free throws in this game. So let's talk about it. I think we ended up beating them quite viciously by 5 on the offensive rebounds. So let's start with some of the second chance opportunities that led to turnovers later on and or fast break points. So go ahead, AD. Break it down for me, buddy.
Amen Thompson, man. He's been the bucket getter. I mean, I look at the game. I'm watching the game, and I'm like, okay, Amen's playing damn good. Next thing I know, Amen has all these putbacks and offensive rebounds and dunks, and I'm like, next thing I know, I look at the stat sheet, like you said, he has 14 rebounds. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? Like, and it's just the natural flow of the game, man, and the second chance opportunities that we've been, him and Jock Landale as well has been pretty damn good on offensive boards as well. um, just being able to get those second chance opportunities and tip outs, and being able to force the ball back to Fred and Jalen, and for them to have opportunities for us to score, has been amazing. Defensively, we've been locking down. We talked about it, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into my Fred narrative on his pesky hands. He was everywhere, man. Hands on ball, causing jump ball. I think he had like 2 jump ball calls against the Jazz, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been like really, really handsy and really, really active on the defensive end, and it's been a pleasant surprise. I know he's always been that type of player, but to see it in action in the Rockets uniform is awesome. So him being effective like that, and garnering us second chance opportunities, by him scoring and taking over this game as well, in the fourth quarter, was crazy. I think he had 14 of his 22 points in the fourth quarter. Jalen took over the third. So I mean, it was like, here, I'm gonna pass it off to you, Fred. You go ahead and finish it out for me. But like, hell of a game, man. Hell of a game. Back and forth again. Slow start again. This was a slow start game. 13 points in the first quarter. And to be able to come back after that, especially getting stops on the defensive end. I was really concerned and nervous with the Walker Kessler taking advantage in that post, man. They're a very, very big team. Pause. Um, but Utah is, even after Rudy Gobert, is still like a very, very lengthy team. And it's in for us to be able to lock down defensively, us being a smaller team, and being able to limit the Kesslers, and I forgot number 25's name. What's for Utah? The other big guy that they had out there as
John
well.
Collins.
Yeah, John Collins, number 20. I'm talking about the other guy.
Oh, okay.
The I don't want to be racial, but the big white guy, the other big white guy.
Oh,
Yeah. So the fact that we were able to do that, I mean, John Collins is gonna be John Collins. Like,
yeah.
he's going. I mean, he went off the last game against us, so that wasn't surprising to me that he was gonna put his imprint on the game as well. I'm just happy that we didn't have any squabbling in this game, but
Yeah.
but hey, we undefeated when we squabble, so let's
Hey, if they want to meet, they
if
can
they
go
want,
ahead and try, man. 'cause-
hey, catch me outside. But no, other than that, man, like, it was a great game. To be able to come back and kind of force the action, and being able to be the driving force on offensive end and defensive end, and making Utah kind of bend to our will. I really enjoyed that in this game.
Pause.
Pause.
You did say that pretty well. Again, an inefficient night from Dylan Brooks, though. 29% from the field. He went 2 of 7. It was just overall a very inefficient night for our team. 38.5% from the field, 31% from 3, went 13 of 42. But the real issue is shooting 18 of 28 from the free throw line. That's not great. 64% is not fantastic. And like I said, Jalen went 8 of 14, right? We had a couple other guys. Jabari went 3 of 4. Amen went 6 of 8. And then Jayshawn Tate, he went 1 of 2, right? So a lot of the misses really just come down to Jalen making, 3 more of his free throws. And that makes the efficiency look a lot better, maybe a little bit of an off night. He went 11 of 24, still 46%. It's pretty solid for a 34-point game. He went 4 of 11 from 3. We just like to see the efficiency be up a little bit more. But I'm very happy with the win, despite it being so close. It should have not been that close to begin with. If we would have had our head over our ass in the beginning, in the first quarter there, you said we scored 13 points in the first quarter?
13 points in the first quarter.
I watched the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. That's all I was able to get to watch. Very, very interesting. We need to stop putting ourselves in situations where we need to exert like this unbelievable amount of force, because it will come back to bite us. Having to try so hard for, again, like we talked about all these games here, and Jalen's played at least 40 minutes in all these games, but minus the Blazers game. And Fred, he was for a while leading the league in minutes per game, and now that's gone down quite a bit. I think he still averages about 37 minutes a game, but we got to slow our roll a little bit so that way we can kind of ease ourselves into some of these games. I'm trying to make sure we make the play. Like that's the goal.
One thing I want to add to that, man. Fred and Dylan have to be more cognizant about staying out of foul trouble. That was a big issue in this past game. I think Fred ended up with 5 fouls. And then Dylan, that's a regular occurrence for Dylan, but him getting early foul trouble is really, really frustrating, because his, defensive presence and, him being able to play within the flow of the offense is critical for our team at this point, especially with us being so many bodies down. You don't have the Tari Eason to come in and pick up the slack, for Dylan. You don't have, Şengün to kind of run point for Fred when he's out. It is kind of frustrating. So they have to be more cognizant, especially those two being the veterans on this team. They have to kind of be more cognizant and be, stay out of foul trouble, man.
That's one way for it. Binkley, were you there for this game at all, or maybe you can give us some insight? What was it like? The energy.
I wasn't at this last game, but just watching, kind of just following up on and I think the biggest thing with him, especially early in the year, was that he was kind of hovering around 3-point line. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was just a matter of confidence or trying to get back from his injuries and being sick at the same time. It took him a little bit of time to get used to being on the court, but now, and give credit to Ime as well, now they have him moving around more. He's setting screens. He's playing in that dunker spot. I mean, something that Ime told me before, that he definitely wants him around the basket. And now what teams were starting to do was they were starting to put their big guy on Ime, or on because they knew that he not necessarily a great outside shooter. So they kept their big guy in the paint. So what the Rockets started doing was they started having him set picks and start moving around more. And that's why it was a couple games there where he struggled a little bit, like the last couple of weeks. But then all of a sudden the Rockets started moving him around more. And now you see him starting to get those same great numbers again, like last night, where he had the 14 rebounds, because he's moving around. And if you're a 6'10", 6'11" guy and you're trying to stay with Amin Thompson running around the perimeter, that's kind of hard to do. So that's definitely, give credit to, Thompson for, realizing that, hey, I'm not a good 3-point shooter, so why should I be hanging out at the 3-point line? Yes. And also the coaching staff for actually getting them in the right spots. But of course, with Jalen, I mean, like I said, it's rinse and repeat. Struggled in the first half. I just think that Utah was really ready for this game. And when you beat somebody as bad as the Rockets beat Utah that last game, I mean, you're coming home, you're going to play hard. I don't care what team it is. I don't care how bad they are. They're going to play a lot harder this game. You saw that early on. They weren't going to just give the Rockets this game. The Rockets had to come and take it. And then, of course, y'all talking about Fred, and something I've been fighting with people all year long. Fred has his limitations. Yes, we all know that. Yes, Fred got a huge contract, and people weren't happy about that. But Fred is undoubtedly the leader of this entire team. You can see it in the locker room. You can see it on the court. And yes, he's not going to go out there and give you 35 points and 25 assists like James Harden and with the flashy plays. But he is going to put the team in the right spot. And you see earlier when he was hurt how much the Rockets struggled on offensive end, because they just didn't have that leadership on the court. So now you're starting to see, I think some of what Jalen's been doing is part of his playing with Fred VanVleet, and seeing him day in, day out, what it takes to be a professional, what it takes to succeed. I mean, Fred is a champion. I know people kind of forget that sometimes, but he is a champion. Yeah, he is a champion. And he was a big part of that championship. So I think people just need to give Fred a lot more credit. Yes, he struggles when he gets inside the paint, because, I mean, he is, well, I guess he's 6 feet.
We all know this. We all know it's fabricated, man. Come on.
I stand next to him, and I'm 6 feet, and I stand next to him, and But anyway,
Oh, my.
like I was saying, I mean, and that makes it even more remarkable at that size to be able to play in the NBA and be able to have the success that he's having. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. And there's no way the Rockets have this success without Van Vliet. As great as Jalen's been playing, there's a lot more that goes into it than just putting up stats. It's how you're running the team, how you getting them in the right sets, and he is one of the better defensive point guards in the league. It's something else he rarely gets credit for, something that y'all been talking about.
Yeah. I mean, the 3 blocks. I mean, there was one game where we were talking, and the league credited him for 7 blocks in a game.
Yeah.
What he should have had is 10 steals because it was the swipe down, right? That he likes to do. He should have 10 steals. Well, they credited him for 7 blocks.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. If I'm getting clamped up by a 5'10", 5'11" dude who got 7 blocks, I'm probably hanging it up after that. You know what I mean? But hey, it's the game. It's a new day, and Fred is just elite at a lot of things he does. Like you said, yes, he does struggle inside. But that's not what we signed him for anyway. Like we didn't say, all right, Fred, I need you to go get 20 and 10 every game. No, we needed the veteran leadership, the defensive prowess, and the 3-point shooting. What is he giving us? All of those things. He's doing exactly what he's getting paid to do. I've had 0 issue. Now, I won't lie, as a fan, when I saw the contract at first, I was upset at how much we spent.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. You gotta spend more to get exactly what you want. Because and people gonna crucify me. I have a James Harden jersey, man. Everyone calm down. But Fred makes more sense. I know it's gonna be hot. Fred makes more sense right now for this era of the Rockets than signing James Harden.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And man, again, Jay Harden's my GOAT, hard GOAT forever. But I had to fight with quite a lot of people on that one, even my inner demons when we signed Fred. Man, it's really worth it.
So one thing that I think is being underrated is the clutch factor that Fred has. That he brought from Toronto, because he was absolutely clutch player in Toronto, and he's bringing that here. This game proved it. I mean, clutch down the stretch in the 4th quarter, hitting that, I don't know what the hell kind of shot that was on the fast break when he was trying to, I don't know if he was deciding if he was going to lob it or what. He was indecisive, threw it up and it banked in. I was like, hey, that right there broke it up to a 4-point lead. That was the game. I'm like, Fred VanVleet, man, is clutch, and that right there was, to me, one of the big factors when we brought him over. I was like, this dude is clutch. Nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
But when it comes down in the crunch time, he's a go-to player guy. He knows how to get a bucket, all over the court. So, like, yes, he's that guy. So I'm like, he just proved it, and he's been doing it mostly all year long in specific moments that we've needed him the most. So shout out to Fred, man.
And real quick, just one thing real quick. You see pretty much every player on the team. Dylan Brooks, he's taken out in the 4th quarter if they've been playing bad. Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Alperen Sengun. If you're not playing well, you're usually not playing in the 4th quarter on an MA team. The only player he's never done that to is Fred VanVleet. And there's a reason for that, because even when Fred VanVleet's not scoring well, or he's he's not making his threes or whatever the case is, he's always doing something on the court that's going to help the team. And that's why you'll never see him bench Fred VanVleet. That's the one player he'll never bench, and there's a perfectly good reason for that, because he is, like I said earlier, he is the leader of the team.
100%. Man, I love the Fred love, man. I can't wait to clip this later. Just he doesn't get enough credit, I feel like. Is that weird to say? He does so much on the court, off the court, in the locker room, that just doesn't get talked about. It's, oh man, again, like I said, he got 22 points on usual Fred efficiency, but he did everything else right. So I'd take 22 points on 20% from the field if we won, and he had 4 steals and 3 blocks. Like, he's doing everything else, and he just communicates so well on the court. When I went to that game in person, that's something I noticed, is that he talks, and he's not afraid to. Yes, and he's not afraid to say, go switch, go that. I just, man, Fred love, man. I need to get me a Fred jersey soon. But enough about Fred. We talked about him a lot already for the past 40 minutes, and we got to talk about somebody else. It's not Dylan Brooks. It's not a man. It's not Şengün. It's our boy, the man that's been going off all in March, Jalen Green. It's just been March Madness for us, right? This has been absolutely insane. What hasn't he done? So far in March, he's averaging 29, 6, and 4 with the over a steal and a little under half a block a game. In this 14-game stretch, he's won a Player of the Week, and he's in contention for Player of the Month already. We're getting a ton of media attention right now. Beginning of the season, or we can go to December, he averaged 14 points a game in December. In January, he averaged 17 points a game. And then in February, he averaged 15 points a game. Now he's averaging almost 30. What the hell happened? This ain't Jalen Green. This is Jalen Jordan. This is Jalen Bryant. What is going on with this man? So,
do you want me to say it? Because I'll say it.
I know where you're going.
So we got to finish strong for the season, right? So my question to you guys, I want to pose this to everybody who's watching as well. How far can Jalen Green take this team this season? Are we just for the play-in as a 10th seed and we lose in the first round? Does it depend on the matchup? Or can we sneak in and get in the playoffs? I'm curious what you guys want to say. So let's start off with AD. Give me your full opinion, and then we'll go to B, okay?
Jalen Green will take the Houston Rockets to the playoffs this year. Jalen Green will force the Rockets in the first round to potentially upset whoever's going to be the number 1 seed.
Okay.
It's going to be.
It's going to be. That's just, you feel that
type
heat?
of season. That's my bold hot take prediction.
I love it. All right, come on, Meekly. Let us hear it.
Well, I don't have anything that good. I'll say they have a really good chance to make the play-in. My only problem is it's just that Golden State's schedule is just so much easier. And it's only 9 games left, and the Rockets just can't tie them. They have to completely pass them because Golden State has a tiebreaker. And just looking at the schedule, Golden State has, I would say, 6 or 7 games with teams under 500, and the Rockets have pretty much a complete opposite of that. Now, the thing about that is you don't know what teams are going to be playing what players at the end of the year. Like the Rockets play the Clippers at the end of the season. We all know there's zero chance that they play all 3 of their big guys in that game.
Right.
Yeah.
So really don't know who's going to be playing. But if I just had to guess where the Rockets are playing right now, I would say the Rockets do make the play-in. And then, man, that's when it gets really interesting because if it stays the way it is right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think they would play the Lakers in that first play-in game.
Yes.
And, I mean, if you're talking about drama, I don't know how much more drama you can get that Dylan Brooks and LeBron James kind of players. That would be wild. So beyond that, I would just say it's hard to say because it all depends. Like, does Alperen Şengün try to come back? I don't think he should. But does he try to come back for that play-in game? We know Cam Whitmore's probably has a chance to be back tomorrow against the Mavericks. So more than likely he'll be playing in the final 7 or 8 games. So it's gonna be crazy. I do think they can get into that play-in spot just because we don't know what's gonna happen with Golden State. Draymond Green can go and punch somebody in the throat in the next game and be suspended for 5 games. So it's really no way to know what's going to happen with Golden State because maybe Steph Curry goes into God mode and starts going off for 40 points a game. So it's really hard to say. But if I was just to say it right now, I would say that the Rockets squeak into that play-in game. But honestly, it all comes down to that April 4th game. I mean, that's going to be an insane game. And maybe finally the Rockets can knock the Warriors out of the playoffs for the first time instead of vice versa, whereas it has been for several years.
The amount of happiness that will shed from me if we are the reason the Warriors dynasty officially God is going to have to stop.
Poetic justice for sure.
Right. Absolutely. My whole only playing devil's advocate, and my conspiracy theory is that the NBA doesn't want the Warriors to miss the playoffs.
They don't.
Oh, absolutely.
The NBA is going to.
Scott Foster's coming up here.
He's going to be the ref on that game. I already know.
Yes.
Here's also the thing is they want more LeBron and Curry. I mean, who brings in more money in the league right now other than LeBron and Curry? right? Maybe Victor Wembanyama, but that's later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who brings in more money? Who's going to bring in the most? I mean, especially if, say, the Warriors miraculously knock out the Lakers this time in the play-in. What does that mean for LA, right? It's all about drama. It's about what's going to bring in the most money. I mean, we saw with the NFL. I have my own opinion and reservations on that Ravens game. But let's just hope that the same thing doesn't play out. I'm obviously a huge believer, and obviously, and I'm just gonna say it now. It's not jinxing nobody. Everyone knock on wood. But it's only a matter of time before we run out of our luck, right? I mean, a lot of these games, because we face the Mavs next, right? And that's going to be tough because they are sitting at the 6th seed and they do not want to be in the play-in.
Mm-hmm.
Luka and Kyrie are probably playing. Derek Lively is a huge guy. I love him. He's a fantastic rookie. Daniel Gafford is somebody I wanted us to try to trade for, and now
TJ Washington. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So they've got a huge roster, and then later on we play the Wolves, which maybe they could sit somebody. They're sitting at the top seed, But Anthony Edwards is that dog in him. I doubt he's sitting. He just wants to get as many wins as possible. They're tired. They ended up losing the first round last year, right, to the Nuggets. They are tired of getting bullied in the league, and they've got 50 wins this season. With Rudy Gobert, everything's working, everything's clicking. So it's going to be really hard to see how we even play that game. And then after that, we play the Warriors. That's going to be tough, man. And that's three teams that are really trying to get in the play-in, right? 2 teams that have, I would say the Mavs are maybe not championship aspirations, but potentially contenders. I mean, playoff Luka is one of the most insane players I've ever watched in all my time in basketball. And then going forward with the Golden State Warriors, I mean, they have, as much as I hate him, I got to respect that he's got Curry, right? Klay Thompson can go off any point in time. Chris Paul, that traitor, is on the Golden State Warriors. And then you've got, your other stuff going on over there too, Andrew Wiggins. They got a deep roster. And it's actually been surprising to me that they haven't done so well. But a lot of that does come from Draymond, right? What is he going to do? And as much as people want to say, Curry's their best player, but Draymond is their X factor. They cannot thrive without him. I mean, 1.5 seasons where Draymond was out, he was injured and whatnot. They first only won 17 games and ended up getting the 2nd pick with James Wiseman, right? With Draymond out and Klay was out, of course, too. And, KD had just left. So they were rebuilding. But still. And then the next season, Draymond played, I think, about 50-something games, and they got knocked out of the play-in in the first round by the Lakers, who were fighting in the play-in hard and consistently, So I don't know. There's a lot that we can do. My prediction is not as bold as AD's, but I am just as hopeful for sure. I mean, every time we play, of course, I think the Houston Rockets are going to win the championship. I mean, come on now. That's just being a delusional Rockets fan. But I do think that we can make the first round. I think that's something that we can strategically do. If we make the play-in or the playoffs, I'm sorry, I'm okay with Şengün coming back. If we make the playoffs, I think maybe we should sit him for the first game of the play-in and then bring him back that second game, if we're going to bring him back at all. But in general, if, say, we go to the 10th seed, right, we lose the game, he sits out for the rest of the season anyway, rests up, cool. We go to the second game, they want to decide to keep him out, wait till the first round, cool, whatever they want to do. I trust the doctors. They fixed up Tari, and hopefully they, don't make that same mistake with Şengün. And I would lose my shit if they end up doing something like that, to put it bluntly. Now he's my boy. You see that jersey back there, but, I just, we'll see what happens, But I think first round is potentially something that is attainable. I think that's something we can do.
So the Rocket fan in me, I've been a lifelong Rocket fan, has, and my I feel like 2 of the biggest nemesis for the Rockets has always been the Lakers, and more recently within the last decade, the Warriors. And in my scenario, which I've painted the picture, both of those teams are out of there. So that would just be, a blessing to my heart if with the Rockets are in the playoffs and the Lakers and Warriors at home. I think I remember this old Outkast song, They used to go on back in the day, but we always used to say, "And the whole world loves it when the Lakers lose."
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. You're not
yeah,
wrong, man.
man.
And
I'm a number one Laker hater, man. Get them out of here.
I respect the energy, man. I respect the energy. For sure. And then that would just be a fantastic duel, Dylan Brooks and LeBron. And imagine what media would be like if Dylan Brooks knocks out LeBron. LeBron's probably leaving LA, man. He said, "Hey, Cleveland." Yeah. Wow. What a fantastic episode. Binkley, appreciate you having you on, man. Before we go, do you have any final thoughts for us for the Houston Rockets? Any final thoughts you want to get out?
No, just to say the game tomorrow should be a sellout, and it should actually be filled for once. I mean,
Yes.
It's a Sunday game. Unfortunately, there's no Cougars on. There's no Texans on. I'm not even sure. I don't know if the Astros play or not, but they just started off their season. So, I mean, at this point, I know how Houston traffic is. I know that's usually the excuse why the seats aren't always filled in the lower bowl. But tomorrow is like the biggest game in like the last 4 years against the I-45 rival. The team has won 11 straight, and you got the best player in the league in March. There's really no reason why it shouldn't be like loud, and the seats should be filled tomorrow. So that's basically my PSA for the end of the show.
100%. Well, I just want to say thank you for joining us once again. AD, I appreciate you being on, man. The big man himself. Be sure to go follow at Bully60 for my guy AD. He's got an X account as well as an Instagram. Go ahead, Binkley. Where can we find you at? You said it earlier, but I might have forgotten.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Binkley Hoops on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram at the same name. Haven't done the TikTok thing yet, but you can find me on Instagram, or you can find me on Twitter, and of course, you can always find my written work over at SB Nation or the Dream Shake.
Definitely. You guys be sure to check out his podcast. I swear, if y'all don't go over there after the show, man, I'm gonna come for all of you. Be sure to follow this one though on YouTube at the H-Town Rundown. We are the one and only, of course, for YouTube, Instagram, as well as the X app. You can follow me. That's Preston Drip 2Ps_JWD on the X app, or Drip 2Ps_JWDD 2Ds on Instagram. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. You guys have a great day. Go Houston.